You know what time it is! You know what time it is! E-S-E-L-E-S-E-L!
And you know what underdogs is? It's a hungry dog.
And the second tick away, and the Eagles are alive! Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you! Let the celebration begin!
What's good, everybody? Welcome. This is episode 74 of the Wingin It podcast. Thank you for winging it with us. As always, it's a bit of a somber day here. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Yesterday sucked almost from start to finish. Maybe the first quarter was okay. But aside from that, we saw a very, very disappointing Eagles performance. But before we get into the game, obviously, make sure you are following us everywhere that you can possibly follow us. You know, even if it's Facebook, great. MySpace, awesome. But please make sure to give us a follow on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out there. We're pumping out stuff every week. Lots to get into today, guys. I'm joined as always with Aleks and Ali. Guys, 42-19 yesterday. The Eagles suffer their worst loss since I can remember. We all went into this week thinking that the Eagles were going to win. It seemed like there was some disrespect as a 3-point underdog, and here we are a day later, and things don't feel very good. Ali, want to get your perspective first. I know the game was disappointing. Here we are a day later, just kind of, do you feel better about things, or are you still kind of disappointed overall?
Am I allowed to overreact? Can I just overreact for a moment?
This is the place to do it, man. Please, overreact, because I'm going to be doing it myself.
We looked so terrible. I don't know how we can win any playoff game, let alone a Super Bowl. We might lose every game for the rest of this season because of how bad we are.
Okay. I didn't know you were going there.
No, it's so. I remember. I think I was listening to Chris Sims last week, where he said probably the smartest thing I've ever heard him say, which is the only thing I've ever heard him say that was smart. He said it was going to be incredibly difficult to not overreact after this game, where like whatever the outcome was, right? Yeah. Either the 49ers are going to win and we're going to crown them as the Super Bowl champions and the Eagles aren't as good as we thought they were, or the Eagles are going to win and everyone's going to say the Eagles should be crowned champion, right? At the end of the day, if you told Nick Sirianni coming into this gauntlet of a schedule, 3 games into it after the bye, that we were going to be 2-1, I think he would take that 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. So do I like how it sort of manifested yesterday? No, and we're definitely going to get into a lot of the issues that we had yesterday. But the sky's not falling. You know, I think losses give us the benefit of having something to learn from, and hopefully we can course adjust. Aleks, how is the stadium environment? I know last year or during the NFC Championship game, you described that as kind of like a gladiator fest, right? Like the way the stadium was, the environment. How was it yesterday, and was it similar?
Yeah, I mean, so it was weird because a few hours before kickoff, the parking lots were like dead. There wasn't a lot of lines, and 95 was just like backed up, accident after accident after accident. We got caught in some traffic, so it was actually a little bit odd because I actually felt walking into the stadium, it almost felt like a preseason vibe. I'm telling you, man, for the Bills game, there was Eagles chants echoing in the hallways. In the bathrooms, everyone's, kind of excited with a smile on their face, and walking into the stadium, it felt like a preseason atmosphere. However, that immediately changed right before kickoff. It was loud. It felt like a playoff game. It was really exciting. And I know we talked about this before. The Niners fans show up. They really do show up. I would say out of every team that I've seen come through Lincoln Financial, the 49ers have an overwhelming presence more than any other fan base, including Dallas or any of the closer teams like New York or Washington. So Credit to them, man. And they are definitely loud, flamboyant, and eccentric. Like, they make it known that they're there. They cheer. You can tell them to sit down. They're not going to sit down. You know, they're a tough fan group, and hats off to them, man. They deserved it last night.
You know, it's interesting because you're talking about this preseason type of feel to it, and I don't know why, but leading up to the game, it started to feel more and more like this was going to be a game that the Eagles weren't going to fight for. And I don't know how to describe that, but it did feel like it was going to be a loss the closer we got to game time. Then the game started, and we actually started off pretty decent. Again, we'll get into the game, but there was something about like the excitement around this game, or the energy around this game, felt like it was starting to kind of dissipate a little bit. And I don't know if that's because we're coming off of those wins against the Chiefs and the Bills. And even when we talked about this last week, you guys, I think, both said that this game felt a little less important than both of those games. I'll pass this to you before we get into our ups and downs, but did you still feel that way, that game yesterday wasn't as important as the previous weeks?
I mean, listen, you want to win every single game that you play, right? We all looked at this gauntlet part of our schedule. We've lost one game right now after beating the Cowboys, where Dak Prescott is the front runner for MVP. Literally makes me want to throw up.
Oh, no.
I don't think he's deserved that honor. But we beat the Cowboys, we beat the Chiefs, we beat the Bills, we beat the Dolphins. Like, we beat every single team, and we're talking about virtually back to back to back. Nobody predicted that the Eagles were going to be a 3 or 4 loss team, right? We all predicted they were going to be a 3 or 4 loss team. Guess what happens? You actually have to lose games. Here's the truth of the matter, too. Breaking news. The Philadelphia Eagles, after losing as a number 1 seed, are still the number 1 seed. Have you guys looked at the Cowboys schedule or the upcoming 49ers schedule and our schedule? One of them's a lot easier than the rest of them. We just have to do work in Big D, take care of Seattle, and it's going to be smooth sailing to the finish line. Saying that we fall off or we're not going to clinch the number 1 seed, maybe we won't. But these other teams have to play other teams as well. I hope people realize that. I hope people realize at the end of the season didn't just happen. If PJ Walker can beat the 49ers, I do think that there is a lot to say that the Eagles can certainly, this morning, still hold on to the number 1 seed through the end of the season. And even if we don't, the sky's not falling. Everyone needs to relax.
Well said.
I agree. The point about, well, first of all, right, last week I described the Buffalo Bills game as kind of Rocky 2. I'll describe this game as Rocky 3. We got our butts whooped by Clubber Lang, who is someone who is much more prepared, much more violent, much more better coached than we were. And hopefully the shift is going to happen pretty soon, and we might meet Clubber Lang again when it matters most. Because at the end of the day, the 49ers didn't get revenge. We won the NFC Championship game. They won a regular season game.
Yeah,
but,
well, good luck telling their fans that. All right, let's stop talking in themes. Let's get into the analysis. I'm going to provide color commentary today, so it's going to be Ali and Andrews 2 up, 2 down.
Aleks and Andrews, 2 up, 2 down.
Ali, I'll let you do the honors, my friend.
So my 2 ups, the first one is our wide receivers came to play. Devontae Smith had himself a game, had that bubble screen, I think in the second quarter, where he burst through several tackles to get a first down. And it was just a continuation of the theme that I've been saying over the last few weeks. The guy just produces. A.J. Brown had himself a game as well. First one in quite a few weeks where he was over 100 yards. I think did he have a touchdown yesterday? Can't remember. I don't think he did.
No touchdowns.
Regardless, I think he came in, he did his job. Both of them did their job. They did it incredibly well. I just wish we got a little bit more production out of our offense in the red zone, and we can certainly talk about that later. My second up, Big Dom. I mean, this guy, Big Dom, for everyone who doesn't know who Big Dom is, Dom DeSandro is the head of security, and he is special advisor to the general manager. That's actually the second part of his job title. The guy just seeps Philadelphia when you look at him. He is this big Italian dude. He was the one that was welcoming Shaq Leonard to the Philadelphia International Airport when he came in last week. His spat with Dre Greenlaw on the sideline was one of the best spats that I've ever seen. It was, I've just never seen a head of security get into the mix with a player altercation like that. Like, why not, right? Like, the guy is just Philly. Why not? Just get in there. I feel like this is something one of our fans would have done if they were allowed sideline access. They would get in there and try to break it up. Second piece, I don't know if you guys saw this. Late in the second quarter, a little under 5 minutes left, Jalen Hurts took the snap, rolls out to his left, throws an incomplete pass on third down. Guess who catches it on the sideline? Big Dom on the sideline makes the catch.
Making
the
plays.
guy's everywhere on the field and making an impact. That's my second up, Big Dom.
It's funny, Aleks. I'll let you. I'll send it to you. But as I was listening on the broadcast, Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson were talking about Big Dom before we even saw his face. Before any altercation took place, they were talking about how he was giving them restaurant suggestions, and he's always like very he's just this great host when people are visiting from out of town. And then sure enough, a quarter later, all eyes are on him. Aleks, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. I mean, I just love our wide receiver. So your first one there, that slant, that AJ Brown slant is just like borderline unstoppable. And he just had the DBs on skates tripping over each other. He looked fast too. He looked a lot faster than he usually does. I don't really take AJ Brown to be a speedster, but he was burning people, man. He looked really good. You talk about that bubble screen to Smitty in the second quarter, and it's funny because I actually called it. I said, here comes a bubble screen of Julio Jones, but it was Smitty, right? Same exact thing.
Thank goodness.
It was an awful play call. Listen, I'm happy we picked it up, but like that is something that your 70-pound wide receiver who's the size of a toothpick, broke some tackles and broke through there. But I still think it was a really bad play call, and it kind of, gets us a little bit into a lens of how to put the game. But I'm with you on that. Big Dom, I don't know what he's doing altercating with players. I'm glad that he's on our sideline, not the other sideline, because I think we would have very different opinions on it. Shanahan was not very happy in the press conference and said, why are non-players engaging with players on the sidelines? Like, that's ridiculous.
He's head of security. He's keeping us secure.
Well, and let's just be real here. Like the hit in the face was a light graze, but man, that slow motion makes it look so much worse. It was so loud in there that I couldn't even hear the announcement. I just saw, it looked like the ref was just doing some disco. He's pointing, this, hands on his hips. Like, I didn't know what was going on. But it was pretty exciting, man. You really felt that was going to be like a rejuvenation or something to kind of get the traction back on our side. And It didn't happen, but it was kind of cool to see.
It came at a time where the Eagles needed some sort of shot of life, and I really thought that was going to help be a turning point of the game. Sadly, it wasn't, but it gave us at least something to enjoy, and it gave something the crowd to go wild about, which was kind of rare yesterday. I'm going to get into my two ups here. Obviously, Big Dom was on the list, but I won't use him. My first up, why not? Quez Watkins. He converted a first down. I'll just throw his name in there because there's not a whole lot to choose from. So Quez Watkins, thank you for your 3 catches yesterday. Thank you for your contributions. It's been a while. Maybe you'll do it more. Stick around, stay a while. I don't know. This is good. Keep it up, Quez. My second up is the offensive line. I know that the offense didn't look great yesterday as a whole, but Hurts had time to throw. So our shortcomings on offense yesterday are more on Jalen Hurts. We can definitely call it coaching. We can call it play calling. But I think Hurts had time to make plays. There was a 2nd and 6, I believe, when we were in the red zone, and he ends up taking a sack, which was just completely unacceptable. Took us out. It was like the second drive that we finished with a field goal. Anyway, so I'll give props to the offensive line. I'll give props to Quez Watkins. Keeping it on the offensive side because the defense surely doesn't deserve any praise. So those are my 2 ups.
Yeah, and honestly, man, Hurts had a lot of protection. Ali, I think your analysis on this defensive line for the 49ers was spot on. Hurts had 3 sacks, but 2 of them he tripped over himself. So realistically, the line got to him maybe one time, and I don't even remember when that was. I can't think of the time that he had a really big loss that wasn't self-inflicted. So I do think that is a positive, right? This highly vaulted San Francisco defensive line didn't really do much against us. I think the Washington line did way more against us than, well, I guess Chase Young played for both, right? But I think you understand the point there. And as far as Quez Watkins, it was good to see him in there. Zacchaeus had such a big moment. He had a standing ovation when he got introduced during the game because
Nice.
he was so pivotal to that. So I still have questions about the personnel. I don't know why Zacchaeus hasn't earned that starting spot and Quez just has been more of a liability. But, I also don't have full faith in Brian Johnson right now. Really quick question for you guys. 1 or 2 sentence answer. Should we bring Frank Reich back as offensive coordinator?
Yes.
Yes, period.
Cool. Done. Moving on. All right, let's get to the downs. Andrew.
A couple weeks ago, I forget which game it was leading into, but I made the comment that Jalen Hurts can't play defense for us. So sure, Hurts can win the game for us if the ball's in his hand, if he has the ball at the end of the game. But if the game's out of reach, there's not much he can do. And yesterday, there's nothing he made mistakes on the offensive side, but the defense gave this team no chance of winning. So to get into some of the downs here, the tackling for one was atrocious. Jeff McClain, one of the beat writers for the Eagles, of the 49ers, 314 passing yards versus the Eagles yesterday, 213 of them came after the catch. So we couldn't tackle a lick. I think our corners maybe came into the season being like, I'll tackle the guy if I'm like covering him. But if the running back has the ball, count me out. I'm not going to make any plays there. Our linebackers, something that we have been truly worried about this entire season. Here's why. They were nowhere to be found. This was just a completely lackluster performance. I think that the 49ers scored touchdowns on 6 straight possessions in our house. That's a joke. So the tackling was ridiculous. And I'm going to add one more thing here. Where's Nolan Smith? He's a first-round draft pick. If we don't draft Jalen Carter, if Nolan Smith is our only first-round draft pick and we're seeing this type of production, we are ripping this team to shreds. We're ripping Howie to shreds. So why is Nolan Smith not out there? It seems like we're not even rotating defensive ends. It just seems like it's Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat. Reddick too. But why can't this guy see the field? Like I'm really, really, really confused about that. And between him and Nakobe Dean, I know we got a lot of love for Georgia, but these guys gotta start, showing their worth here. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I think it was such a characteristic San Francisco 49er game, and then just the missed tackles on top of it just made it so much worse, right? I think our only saving grace from the Georgia Bulldogs, I do think Jordan Davis had a pretty good game yesterday. Yeah. He did have a really pivotal block in the first possession, and we'll get into the first quarter there. But I don't see Nolan Smith. I think Jalen Carter has been okay. Him crying on the sidelines is a little bit. I don't know what that's all about. But
I didn't see that.
He was crying on the sidelines afterwards, and also just like the missed tackles, man. I just it wanted me to just pull my hair out, and it's just such a classic 49ers game. It's almost like they try to come out of the gates and do something a little bit different. They didn't hand the ball once off in the first quarter. And I took a screenshot of the scoreboard when I was there, and we started off the game. Let me just see if I can pull it up here real quick. -4 rush yards, -2 pass yards, -6 total yards, and that is in that's in the second quarter with 14 minutes.
Dude, they didn't score.
How the hell did it get to that point? How the hell did it get to that point?
Right. They didn't score until halfway through the second quarter. Like, everything started off pretty smooth, aside from us not being able to put 7 up on the board, but we looked great.
Twice. We didn't put it up twice, which is ridiculous.
Twice. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ali. I don't want to take anything away from you.
No, I think, Andrew, we could spend the entire show unpacking the problems with our defense. Aleks, a couple of weeks ago when you read the text from your wife talking about how the Eagles have talent, I was kind of reflecting last night. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Miracle, talking about the 1980 U.S. hockey team, Herb Brooks, legendary hockey coach from my alma mater, University of Minnesota. There's a scene in that movie where he's making them kind of, do suicides on the ice. And he looks at them and he's like, "You think you have talent? Gentlemen, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone." And that's how I felt yesterday when it came to our defense. Our defense has talent, but we don't have enough talent.
Guys, breaking announcement.
Shaq Leonard
has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles.
We'll take it. We need it. Help us,
Breaking
Shaq.
on the
Help
Winging It
us.
podcast. Shaq Leonard is a Philadelphia freaking Eagle. So sorry to cut you off there. Holy crap.
And that's
dude.
the same.
The Eagles just broke the news.
That's the same guy as Darius Leonard, right? Because I had Darius Leonard as my IDP, my defensive player for a couple years in fantasy, who was fantastic. I hope that's Shaq. That's him, right?
Yeah.
So he plays basketball, right, Shaq?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Aaron
Crap, I got
Carter.
the wrong Shaq. No, just kidding.
Well, that's Shaq. Aaron Carter beat Shaq in a game of basketball. And he's got a whole song about how he beat Shaq. So we don't want that.
This
Shaq.
whole podcast just totally changed. Holy crap. I'm so happy I was able to break something.
I mean, I don't think that's
podcast.
gonna he's not the answer, it's helpful, but
But you know what though, Andrew?
addressing a need.
At the end of last season, one of my biggest concerns was the fact that we lost our linebackers and have been trying to piece them together with Band-Aids. And that's been the key sort of hole in our entire team, in our entire defense, has been the linebacker position. And that's exactly where Kyle Shanahan started exploiting, right? Like, Kyle Shanahan yesterday, I felt like was putting on a masterclass on how to take your weakest parts and take advantage of it. There was a clip of him on the sideline. I think it was the touchdown that he threw to to Brandon Ayuk, that Brock Purdy threw to Brandon Ayuk. Kyle Shanahan was standing on the sideline before Ayuk got even open on the back. Before Brock Purdy saw him, Shanahan was pointing in the back of the end zone like, "Dude, how do you not see this? This is already it's exactly how I drew it up." And I think to your point, Drew, listen to that stat. He threw 314 yards yesterday, and 213 came after the catch.
I have one more thing to add to you while we're on the topic of linebackers here, because Nicholas Morrow alone accounted for 151 out of the 213 yards after the catch.
That's a huge linebacker issue.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like Tyreek Hill, right? It's not like DK Metcalf. Like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, they're good receivers. Don't get it twisted, but they aren't these specimens of what a perfect NFL athlete looks like. Like, if we're giving Tyreek Hill those extra yards, it's almost understandable, right? Tyreek Hill torched us again. But I don't look at those guys as impossible to break down.
I disagree, Alex. I think Deebo is a hybrid athlete when it comes to the NFL.
Yeah, I just don't like him.
I don't like
care.
him either. I don't like him either. But Tyreek Hill is your standard speedy wideout. Deebo Samuel is a hybrid. He lines up in the backfield. He motions from the backfield, lines up as a receiver, takes handoffs. You don't know what to do with him. Yeah. And frankly, the fact that they lost their 3 games because Deebo Samuel wasn't there, that should tell you how pivotal this guy is to that entire offense.
Exactly.
So, there was a stat that I saw yesterday that the 49ers did not attempt to pass longer than 15 yards.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Wow.
That is us not being able to tackle. That is us not being able to cover. That is us not stopping the run. Our vaunted run defense, which is the bright spot of our entire team, has given up over 160 yards to running backs and quarterbacks over the last 3 games. What happened to our defense?
Wow.
What happened to it? Sorry.
One thing, and listen, I'm not a X's and O's guy, right? So I look at some key indicators of what's coming, and the run game for Christian McCaffrey was very predictable. They would line him up in the backfield. Brock Purdy would line up under center. He'd bootleg maybe 15% of the time, and then they would motion a guy out to whatever side he's going to run on. They would motion a tight end, and he's stepping over to the left side of the field. You know that a run is coming to the left. And I feel like in those moments, we did nothing to address it. You could actually sit there and call it out. I've never had the opportunity to play football because I had a lot of medical conditions in high school that's prevented me from it. But if I can actually sit there and say, "Hey, run to the left," and it's happening all the time, I don't know how our defense isn't seeing it, or maybe they are and they're just bossing them around. It's insane to me.
Your medical condition is being too damn handsome, and I'll be damned if anyone's going to mess up that face of your Aleks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm looking in like Debo. You know, just like you're saying, they use him as a hybrid. As I look at the box score, I see Debo with 3 carries, and then I look, you know, I see freaking DeAndre Swift with 6 carries, and
Yep.
I know I didn't include Swift in my downs, but we need to touch on this a little bit, especially at the beginning of the game. It seemed like Kenny Gainwell is. Was he your second down? Did I completely just cut you off there?
No, because our defense was your down.
Yeah.
I had a couple of downs. I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent just because I hate the way our defense showed up on every level yesterday. There's so much.
I need some
to
Brian
unpack
Johnson
there.
hate from you, Ali. I need some Brian Johnson hate.
I will hate right now. Okay.
Thank you.
My first down is I hate Brian Johnson. I don't think he deserves a job as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt over the last couple of weeks because he does have a knack for situational play calling. So when you need the right play call in the right moment of the game, like, he has definitely shown that he's got the knack to do that. But for every other aspect of the game, to get started quickly, to stay on top, to manage the game, manage the clock, he has done a terrible job of that. He does not scheme well. He relies too heavily on Jalen Hurts, trying to make things up and doing off-schedule plays. There is no ingenuity. There's no sort of like creativity coming out of this offense. It is purely put the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands and see what happens. And the fact that DeAndre Swift, you said, had 6 carries yesterday, he had 3 more carries than a wide receiver on the other team, is insane. It's insane to me. How does this guy still have a job? Like, I get that there's loyalty on the Eagles where Jalen Hurts is like, no, he's doing a great job. He's one of the best. Like, get out of here with that. He has not called one complete game where I would look back on it and I would say that was a great called game by our offense this entire season.
And the question that I have, Ali, is, you know, maybe they are just being extra careful with DeAndre Swift because of his injury history. That I can understand. If you want to preserve somebody, fine. But then why is he out there on the final drive of the game where he took a nasty hit?
Pop.
Why is he out there at that time of the game? There's no logic.
But you can even say, like, oh, we've got 4 running backs on our active roster, right? Like, we've got Boston Scott, we've got Kenny Gainwell, and we've got Rashad Penny. I know we forget about him. But we've got 3 other running backs, so if you're worried about DeAndre Swift getting injured, we have the weapons in our arsenal to have an adequate run game. We've got an offensive line that feeds off of running the football, and we refuse to do it. My second down real quick is the refereeing in this game. I don't know what pass interference is anymore, because what I thought it to be is that if a defensive back touches you beyond 5 yards, it is illegal contact. If he holds you, it's holding, both of which are an automatic first down. If he impedes your process or your ability to catch a football in any way while the ball is in the air, that is defensive pass interference. And on numerous occasions in this game, what I saw was hands-on receivers from the 49ers DBs on the Eagles players. And frankly, this is a problem. Refereeing is a problem across the entire NFL. I was watching Sunday Night Football last night where Patrick Mahomes gets popped in bounds and it's a 15-yard penalty. And then a couple of plays later, Green Bay Packers DB is giving Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or he's getting a piggyback ride from him, and it's a no call. Like, there is so much technology that we have at our disposal now. Referees have earpieces that they can talk back to New York. Like, it's so simple. Just be like, call in someone's ear, hey dude, throw a flag, that's definitely defensive pass interference, or hey, that actually wasn't roughing the passer, it wasn't unnecessary roughness, pick that flag up. I don't know why we don't use technology to make this game better, because at this point in time, the referees are causing these games to turn up the way they are. right? Whether it's wins or losses, the referees are interfering with the outcomes of the game, and that should not be the case. That's my second down.
Yeah, I don't really have much to provide color to there. I don't understand why we can't get DeAndre Swift involved. I mean, the whole crowd was yelling, "Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball." I don't get it. And on the times he would run it in like a sensible situation, it would be like in just really weird scenarios. Like he'd run it on like 2nd and 15. Well, why don't we do it on 1st and 10? Like it just doesn't make a lot of sense into that. As far as the refereeing, Ali, like that Sunday night football game was pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie. That hit on Patrick Mahomes was so bad. Inbounds, a guy that's sneaky and tries to get away, and he's right near the first down marker, and he just like hip checked. It wasn't even like a hard hit. It was ridiculous.
That Brady love.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the reffing goes, we've seen on both sides. We've had calls in our favor. I think the Dallas game, we definitely had a few calls kind of go in our favor, and then this game it wasn't. We can say about Brian Kemp or whatever, because I think has a record against the Eagles where 1-3 with him, and the Niners had him, and they're like 14-6 or something like that. It was like something weird like that. We have to do better. I don't know though how you would say, "Hey, New York, is this pass interference or not?" In such a split-second moment. I think the games would take so long if everything went to a review. It is interesting though, like that Brandon Ayuk touchdown, I thought wasn't caught. It looked like he may have bobbled it. And then on the last touchdown, and even though the game was a blowout, Debo's knee was down before the line, and they didn't even, they're like, we're just going to kick the field goal anyway. Like, he was short. So there's a lot there, too. It's just like, what scenarios they're going to call something or not.
But to your point where you're like, oh, it's going to take a long time to sort that stuff out, that was sorted out. Every scoring play is reviewed by New York, and the referees are the ones that are like, all right, it's good to go, right? So it's such a seamless process that touchdown by Debo, you felt like, oh, they didn't actually review it or they didn't give it the time that it needed. But like, in fact, they did. Yeah. So like, I just don't understand why in cases like this, and if you're listening to the podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify right now, this is another reason why you should go on our YouTube channel. But like, the Eagles posted this on Twitter saying, how is this not DPI, right? And it's wow. Quez Watkins getting, frankly, like molested before he even catches. He's getting hands put on him and moved backwards before he catches the football. Like, how is that not defensive pass interference? Like, I don't know what rules are anymore in the NFL because it is so subjective and it feels like it's arbitrary to whatever situation you're at in the game and whatever referee crew you have that particular game, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, you just kind of hope that everything evens itself out. So if you get a couple calls against you, then you're just kind of like counting on, oh, okay, well, maybe there'll be a makeup call, maybe something to just kind of help the universe even itself out. Because to both your points, yeah, like you're going to get crappy calls called against you, but then there's a lot of times where I hear nothing but those same complaints from other fan bases when they play against the Eagles. So it is one of those things. Same thing in baseball with strikes and balls. It's just like maybe we'll get to this level where we're utilizing technology. I'm still a little conflicted. Like, at the end of the day, I want whatever is the most fair, but there is something about this human element that has been a part of the game for so long. So this will be an endless debate, and I think it's a debate worth having. But thankfully for the Eagles, the game was kind of already out of touch, out of hand. So those penalties weren't the things that made or broke us. But at the same time, it's super frustrating when there's this level of consistency with bad calls week after week, and it is a problem.
Yeah, I agree with. Yeah.
So I guess, before we wrap things up, I know we're going to talk plenty about the Cowboys game as my dog falls off of my lap, but he caught himself. It's okay. Good recovery there, Beej. I'm looking at how the line opened. The Cowboys are currently a 3.5-point favorite against the Eagles. We remember a couple weeks back when the 49ers played the Cowboys, they beat the Cowboys worse than they beat us. They won that game. I believe it was 42-10 as opposed to 42-19, but that game was also in San Francisco. So make of that what you will. But like, immediate thoughts, I think that coming off of a loss is the best thing for this team. I think we've seen that with other Philadelphia sports teams. But, I mean, how do you guys feel at this point in time? Do you think as the week goes on, you're going to feel more confident, or do you feel confident right now?
I feel confident because this is the time of year where we do the scoreboard watching. And I have been on the receiving end, well, we all have, of these insane scenarios that need to happen. This team needs to win this game to lose this game. And then if this happens and this really weird game happens, we're in the playoffs. We are still the top team. So I took a screenshot of the upcoming Cowboys schedule, who, Ali, I am pumped. Hollis Thomas is going to be at our tailgate. I just got an email while we were on here. Like, I'm so excited for this tailgate. Shout out to Philly Sports Trips. E-Rock got us sold on it, so we're going to be doing that. We should plug this here, make a reel out of it. The Cowboys have upcoming, listen to this, us, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, Washington. They could actually lose all 5 of those.
That's honestly a gauntlet. That's a little mini gauntlet.
They really could, right? So if we lose to the Cowboys and we drop to the 5 seed, like, just know that's not going to be the story. Then if we look at the upcoming games for the 49ers, it's Seattle, who interdivision game, always different. Geno Smith played wonderfully against the Cowboys. Dallas almost couldn't put him away. Arizona, Baltimore, who in many circles is the Super Bowl favorite. Washington and the Rams. And the Rams always give them problems regardless of how good the 49ers are. Our biggest threat is going to be the 49ers here, but I see us winning the division. I don't see us needing some crazy scenario to get into the playoffs. I think we're 1 win away from securing a playoff spot. We'll be doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, but the gloom and despair across our fan base this morning is a little bit over the top. Like I said earlier in this segment, most of us predicted we were going to be a 3 to 5 loss team this year. You actually have to lose those games to get to that spot. We've lost 2, and it's week, 13? Relax.
We're just not used to it.
We're okay.
We're not used to it.
Yeah.
That is a really good point. It's been quite a bit of time since we've lost at home, especially. But I don't think the worries and the overreactions are unwarranted, right? Because we've been seeing our team kind of teeter along this, are we going to win this game? Are we going to lose this game? It's a matter of Josh Allen not being on the same page as Gabe Davis. It's a matter of Marquez Valdez-Scantling not having good hands, right? Like it's a matter of things that are outside of our control happening fortuitously. But when it came down to it, when we were opposed against a team that was better coached from an offensive perspective than we were, that had the talent to be able to match up with the talent that was on our team, we were outclassed yesterday. So I don't think any of the worries are unwarranted after yesterday.
Well, with that being said, I think I know me personally. I'm going to keep digesting this win a little, or this win, the complete opposite, this terrible loss. I'm going to try to not freak myself out too much because I am very deflated after yesterday. The 49ers have not lost with Debo in the lineup. So if they have a healthy lineup, I'm scared. So let's just hope that these feelings start to dissipate as the week goes on. Everyone, thank you as always for tuning in to Wingin' It. Appreciate you winging with us as always. We will be back Thursday for another episode of fun, hopefully a little bit more uplifting. Aleks, do we have a guest for Thursday?
We do have a guest. We were going to have someone. No, this guest is awesome. I can't wait to introduce him. I actually saw him at one of the tailgates. He's excited to come on. Should I say the name? Should I not? I don't know.
Follow us.
We'll make a promo this week for it. I'm excited.
Follow us on Instagram so you know who it is.
Yeah, we are going to have a guest joining us. But thanks for kicking it with us, guys. Episode 74. On to Dallas week.
Welcome to Philly, Shaq.
Oh, yeah.